Start webinar. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our next online event, which is Masterclass at Swiss Cyber Forum, and we are pleased to host you next 1 hour, 15 minutes at our session. And my name is Samir Aliyev. I'm a founder of Swiss Cyber Forum, and today we will get a masterclass from our lead tutor from Fikret Karimli, who is joining us from United States, and he is also cybersecurity architect in United States. The topic of today's is Hacking Lab. As you know, Swiss Cyber Forum is offering most advanced and intensive cybersecurity course for Swiss Federal Examination. And during this course, we will challenge our students in our own Hacking Lab. We are only course provider in Switzerland that we have developed our own Hacking Lab based on real-world scenarios and cases. So this is your time to listen to Fikret and learn a lot about it. Fikret will introduce us the Hacking Lab. He will show us one of the sample challenge, and we will talk about malicious activities analysis and how detect and prevent cyber attacks in the company. Fikret, thank you very much for your time. I know it's morning, and it will be our pleasure to listen you on next 1 hour before you start your presentation.
So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. You didn't finish yet? Sorry.
Before you start your presentation, I would like to give some information to our participants. This is live session, and we will record the session. And if you have any question during the session, please use the Q&A button on the bottom of your windows and send us your question. We will answer all of them end of the session. Last 15-20 minutes, we will dedicate it to your questions. Thank you. Stay online, and we are here. Fikret, it is your time. Go ahead.
So first of all, hello everyone for joining us today. So we're gonna, as Samir said, we're gonna talk about a little bit about like SIM, how we can detect the real world threats and stuff like that. And we're gonna actually show one of our sample challenge that we're offering in Swiss Cyber Forum Ethical Hacking Labs, which is powered on top of the Google Cloud Platform. We use the Google Cloud Platform for offering our lab services, and we hosted actually that service right now on top of the Google Cloud as well. So, of course, in a near future, our students which enroll in our classes as well, they're gonna have the same capabilities, same platforms as we're kind of showing right now. It's just one of them. So just want to let you know it's one of them. We have tons more challenges in our ethical hacking labs as well. So yeah, hopefully everyone is gonna like it. So we're gonna, as Samir said, we're gonna show how we can detect that malicious activities and like uncommon processes, network connections, and stuff like that. And we're going to talk about a little bit about what we really need for just detecting that threats and stuff. So I'm going to start sharing my screen for our presentation. Okay, there we go. Samir, please confirm that. Can you see? Is my presentation is kind of alive right now? Can you see that?
Yes, we are seeing it. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, malicious activity analysis, getting most of your data. So it's me, Fikret Karimli. I'm a cybersecurity architect. I'm a offensive security certified expert, professional, CISSP, CCSP, NSA, CNSS 4011 and 12, GCAP, SecPlus, Evase, and a bunch of another kind of certs that I already kind of forgot. I'm 25 years old, living in the United States, and blah 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 blah. So, so that's kind of a quick look at our agenda. We're gonna talk about a little bit about logs, and because those logs you really kind of it's our pinpoint, and that's where we getting a data and just make it a little bit actionable. So then we're going to talk about which logs you really need, and we're going to talk about all the SIM tools that are in the market right now, and then we're going to jump on the hands-on session. Then we're going to have the Q&A portion at the end of it. A little bit about a log. So that's actually my favorite topic when it comes to the blue team, and especially detecting the activities and stuff. So log in a computing context is a automatically produced and timestamp documentation of events that are relevant to particular systems. That virtual all software applications and systems can produce logs. That means like we are not getting like a very deep. Again, it depends on the system or application. We're not getting like an all deep down level to the zeros and ones, but we're getting like a very I'm sorry, looks like we have one Q&A thing over here. Whatever, we're gonna look at the Q&A thing at the end of it. I cannot open it right now. I'm sorry, Samir, I'm sorry, but I cannot open the Q&A window over here. Is there any problem with that?
No, we see it actually.
You see that?
Yes. You can close it and open it again.
If you guys don't mind, can you just ask your questions through the chat line, because I don't know what's happening. Maybe it is like a permission.
No, we can answer all the questions at the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So yeah. So and yeah, this will be recorded, by the way. So let's back to our topic. So we're not getting like zeros and ones kind of that type of details, but we're getting like, it depends on the, again, as I said, software or the application. We're getting like events, like what activity is going on inside of that application or the system. So as an example, on a web server, an access log list, the all individual files that people have requested from the website. These files will include the HTML files and their embedded graphic image and stuff like that. You can read it, all of that. It's actually curated from the Google. So basically, whatever that, just imagine that we have a web server, which we're going to have in our demo as well, in our hands-on session as well, that imagine that IIS or Apache, you have Apache application, web service that running on top of your server, and that Apache or IIS creating specific logs. The name of that is access logs or and error logs. Whoever can access the website or specific page or whatever it is, it's kind of it's logged as access log. Whatever is kind of 404 not found and stuff like that, and another type of an errors are logged into the error logs. And another thing is an audio log, which kind of keeps the record of what users has been done, what kind of a change that it made, he or she made, what kind of a group activities that he made, like, and we set it up WinLog beat in our environment as well, which records all of the security system application logs, PowerShell logs, sysmon logs as well. So basically, it's one of the most important logs that you really need if you're in the threat hunting and blue team, if you're doing a blue team activity. So what logs are you really need. First of all, it all depends on what's your requirement, but it's kind of a few things that I've listed over here that, or logs that the most critical logs that you'll need, like an infrastructure device, security device, including like firewalls and like EDR platform as well, and network device, including the switches, routers, and you're basically getting net flow data out of it from the firewalls or switches or whatever it is, or routers. So it's definitely one of the most important ones that we really need. And web servers, we already talked about our web servers. Authentication servers like Active Directory, for example, like a Kerberos, we need to get a Kerberos events as well, because it kind of wherever is kind of uh, uh, like unusual authentication is happening, like let's say somebody's kind of knocking the door and doing a brute force attack, which will get that we're gonna get that logs as well, so we're gonna detect that threats as well. And hypervisor. So in nowadays, everybody's kind of moving to the cloud, but whoever kind of has a on-prem infrastructure, most probably they have one of the ESXi box, like a VMware ESXi box, which create syslogs and overall like event logs as well, which we definitely kind of need those as well. Containers is one of the most fascinating technology that I'm kind of using as well. And by the way, our SIEM is working on top of the Kubernetes engine. It's kind of a containerization technology as well. So we need the container logs as well, and just see what's kind of the changes that have been made and stuff, like the pipelines and system events as well. Application logs, again, that depends on your requirement, which application is the most critical to you. And let's say you have a Python application running on your server, which you really kind of, and somebody's kind of complaining about, that application is acting weird and stuff like that. And if you're going to send that Python Flask, let's say Flask application logs to your SIEM, an APM, so you really can see the bottlenecks and just and the problems that happening on the in the background. Endpoint logs are another one of the most important logs that really needed, but ingesting that logs is consuming a lot of space and storage, and that's why companies are nowadays they prefer to have like a cloud-based EDR solution, which is like a Sentinel one, Bitdefender, Gravity Zero, or Elastic endpoint security, and BlackBerry Silence, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they're like the most common ones that they have cloud offerings, which they kind of manage all of the infrastructure, storage, and space, and all of that things. And you really need to do is just go into there and just investigate what's happening in the endpoints. And you can also set up a syslog forwarder, and you can just send it to your SIEM as well. Just have a like a one pane of glass dashboards. So yeah, SIEM. So we're gonna talk a little bit about a SIEM as well. So SIEM is a security information and event management software that has been used for a long, long time. So SIEM is you can look at the SIEM as a centralized repository of your logs, because you need to send out logs in somewhere that you can analyze and do threat hunting activities. SIEM is kind of basically just gathering all of that logs, just make it more actionable, like doing a cross correlation and stuff, and enriching that logs as well. Let's say, so one of your logs contain the IP address. So you can do like an enrichment with the various tools that it's going to take that IP address, look at their like a DNS resolve, and look that IP address in the virus total database, or any other like threat intelligence platform. Just compare that IP address with their database and see if it's vulnerable or just malicious or not. This is just one of the examples. And yes, SIEM is like it's very broad topic, and there's like a traditional based SIEMs and next generation SIEMs also that they're doing like a user behavior and analytics, and they're doing like machine learning, artificial intelligence on the flavor as well. So there's a few SIEMs that I've listed in here. Elasticsearch, which is AKA Elk Stack, which we are using in our Swiss Cyberform ethical hacking labs. It's very versatile, very customizable, and it's one of the best SIEM tools in a market right now. Another one is a Splunk. Splunk is, I can say it's good, but Splunk is a little bit outdated, and the price is very high for the Splunk. There's a QRadar. QRadar is another old players in the game. Exabeam and Secure Onyx, which is relatively new players, but they have machine learning and AI functionality in a flavor like Elasticsearch. And Exabeam and Secure Onyx identified as next generation SIEMs. And yeah, they're I personally like it. FarEye Helix is another SIEM tool, which is really good. Rapid7 Insight IDR is another good tool as well, but it's getting lack of some correlation stuff. But yeah, then yeah, let's jump into our demo environment, not demo, actual our ethical hacking lab environment, and just start to showing you some good stuff. Okay. Okay. All right. Samir, is that okay? Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we are seeing your screen.
Perfect.
That's fine. It's working.
Perfect. Just want to make sure. Just want to make sure that nobody kind of missed any point. So in our environment, just want to give you a overall like introduction right now that we created one of our challenges are it's just like that somebody is attacking to our Windows server, and they got into our server through a web service that running on top of the server, and our point is our purpose is just investigate what happened, what kind of things happened during that malicious actor when he or she is attacking to our environment. So we created like a dashboards over here that it's basically we're getting like a row logs as well. It's not a row, it's just it's been parsed and normalized as well. But over here we make it as like a dashboard, which we can see what happened. And by the way, it's public, and our students are gonna get a username and password for connecting to our public Elk instance, and they can do various challenges over there. So over here, we can see that, you know, those logs are coming from like a different place. Basically, we kind of, you know, and purposely we attack to our own environment. So it's just because we cannot attack to someone else's environment and stuff. So we created that for this purpose. Over here, we can see like there's a like lots of 200 requests, 404, 304, 500. We really kind of at first, when we're looking at the web logs, we really need to focus on what's been successful, because 404 and 304 or 500, they're all kind of just type of like error logs. But 200 is HTTP OK log, which is kind of a turn the response back to the client. So over here, we need to kind of apply it as a filter. And then we're going to see what 200 requests that we got. And there we go. We have that weird cmd.asp, which means like somebody uploaded like a web shell and they just start to kind of executing commands over there. Then they visited that URL and started executing that commands actually. And over here, when we kind of identified that cmd.asp is kind of just been queried, then we can go back to our because most of that shells are working with some type of either PowerShell or CMD line arguments. So we really kind of need to just see what kind of when that incident happened and what kind of just command line arguments that malicious actors inputted in. So in our PowerShell window, we have we set it up the PowerShell operational log forwarding enabled in our environment. So it's just sending PowerShell logs, which is very useful in nowadays because most of that malicious actors using PowerShell for red teaming and doing like malicious activities, because it's Windows's own native application, which can be utilized for the bad purposes as well. So over here we can see there's like a various commands over here, like a total, remote commands, unique users, engine, and all of the good stuff over here. But our concern is like not internal commands, because it could be like a legitimate application making a PowerShell command or a legitimate user making a PowerShell command. Our concern is who kind of did through the web server, which web server, every service running by some users. It could be administrator, it could be like a service users and stuff like that. But IAS, it's like a norm in the cybersecurity or an IT field. Let's say that by default, IAS is running as a default app pool username, which is, we can see over here, default app pool run some PowerShell commands, which is, weird, because it's usually it doesn't. And plus, we already know somebody's uploaded the CMD shell and just do a lot of requests over there. So then we're going to filter out this value, and it's going to add that filter over here. And over here, we can see like a process arguments, which going to give us a very, very broad like an eagle eye view of what's been going on. And over here we can see the as an actual log, there's a PowerShell execution bypass policy that it's a basically kind of a one-liner reverse shell that's sent to that IP address to port 1234, and it's opened the PowerShell command line in the remote machine, which is basically malicious. And you can see there's a lots of commands like that. That means it kind of logs every a command that's been issued. So overall, there's a lots of same command line block that's been issued. It's like 14,000. So when we kind of saw that these commands are issued, and that means that person has already have some foothold into that system. Overall, there's another kind of a good thing that I'm going to show you other than identifying that type of things. In overview, we can also see that wait a minute, let me just change the timeline over here because it's not going to find it because that data relates to the different time. So if we're going to view the host, that's a authentication. If we're going to look at the authentication like failures and success, there's like a 6 authentication failures, which we can see which kind of an indication of brute force. Like if we're gonna see that which users are been like iUser, administrator, test, ADM, admin, Ansible. It's basically somebody kind of did some wordless attack against our machine through the RDP, which is another way to kind of identify like a brute force attacks and stuff. But it's all failed. The only way to kind of find it out that which brute force has been succeeded, you're basically applying the one username already in your system. You're applying that as a filter value, or you can basically do like you just drag and drop over here. That's a good side of Elastic. That so there's a like event action over here that you can see that login failed, but you're gonna like filtering out that value and just see is that succeeded or not. So if you're gonna filter out that value, that means there's nothing succeeded so far. But this is just like I just want to give you an idea that how you really can identify those type of things. Let's back to our winlog beat, and we can see that there's a lots of PowerShell activity going on over here. Then after here, we really want to see what kind of after that PowerShell is getting succeeded, what happened after that, which we set it up, and most of the cybersecurity professionals are setting up Sysmon. Sysmon is basically Windows internal like an application suite of package that you can set it up, and you can set it up like a various rule sets for identifying the malicious activity. And we created a sysmon with a very custom configuration, and we over here in that like a role logs, we didn't create the specific dashboard because sysmon logs needs to be kind of just we can create a dashboard, but in that in our hands-on session we didn't create it. It's up I mean like it's up to person. So if person kind of wants to kind of see specific actions or specific events, they can create with the Elasticsearch. Is basically possibilities are endless. So over here we can see there's lots of activity, but we don't really need lots of those. And there's like a Notepad++ is open, which is not really necessary right now that we need to kind of just look it on. This like a event module is a sysmon, by the way. Just want to show you that. And there's over here that like a very weird kind of things that are happening. Like if we're gonna just open it up, and we can see there's a PowerShell modules are just being like invoked. And if we're gonna see the like a data content, we can see the PowerShell modules. Let's try to install some persistence module, which is very like it's like a malicious, because that persistence means that when hacker are just getting out of the computer, it needs the persistence and try to connect back in. So it can be done with the scheduled jobs, can be done with some exe files, sending like a covert channel to a command and control center. So it's like basically there's lots of ways, but somebody kind of that malicious actor tried to that import module persistence, which is malicious. Then if we're going to look at more, we can see there's like a file crate over here, and that file crate is as usage.emd, which is not important, and another file created over here as well, because our rule set basically just recording everything, that detecting everything, our sysmon module, of course, that anything other than program files and stuff like that, anything on the user's desktop, anything on the publicly writable directories and stuff, it just send us a log that, hey, this is kind of a malicious activity. It looks like malicious activity. I mean, like it could be legit as well, but most of the time, not most of the time, but it's kind of a weird, unusual. If you can see, there's like a something just being dropped on in the downloads folder, and you can just actually, for further investigation, if somebody, or let's say system administrator, said that I didn't do that, and if you want to kind of just identify that file, you can basically, there's we enabled the file hashing as well, so you can search that file hash through the virus total and see if it's kind of what is it, like a risk score, or you can open that file in the Cuckoo sandbox and just see what kind of activities are being just happening. But usage.md is a basically text file. It's not really necessary. And there's another rules are over here, that another lots of file creation. And if we're gonna look a little bit more, because that's what I kind of was looking for. So somebody is downloaded to downloads folder that persistent.psm1. So which makes sense right now, that it just downloaded persistence module in our downloads and try to kind of enable the persistence on the server. So which is like very weird. Another persistent PSM. And we can, let's see what kind of another type of, is there any PowerShell activity that we oh yeah, it's something like, if you're gonna see that zone transfer URL is somebody tried to download that persistence.psd1 from their own server. If you're gonna see over here, that's unusual as well. That's definitely malicious. And let's dig a little bit more and just see, there's another network detection, network connection is detected, and that there's a rule name network connect, of course. And we can see that something is trying, there's that's another thing, that because our server is public, so that server trying to connect to our server with the RDP. So our sysmon log has just detected that and just send it back to us. So another thing is, if we're gonna look a little bit more, another network connect, and there we go. If you're gonna look here, there's a process arguments that somebody, this is the basic privilege escalation thing when you're getting into that system, that you're just basically looking for the text, XML, or INA, which is a configuration file that has a string or content named the password, which is that that person is basically kind of just that find string.exe is basically a command line tool that are looking for password, XML, INI, or TXT files everywhere. And as a parent argument is, if you remember that somebody kind of just deployed that that PowerShell through the web server, and if you're gonna see, that's the same command line angle. So that's a parent command line, which is kind of a hosting that script, and this is the child, which has kind of been executed on the system, and that's a related file hash and stuff. And we also can see the user domain is IAS app pool, which is kind of confirmed that really kind of just that person really kind of made that connection and argument command line arguments over there. And yeah, over here there's like enrichment has been happened, find string grep utility and stuff like that. And yeah, and another thing over here that you can see, yeah, another network connection detected, and through the IAS pool, when that person is find that passwords file, it start to just send some of the password documents to itself. It's basically data exfiltration, so it should kind of open some network connection to the remote server. And over here we can see another PowerShell execution bypass. And yeah, and that's been all coming from the default app pool user, which is very, by intent, is very malicious. So that's pretty much it. And the rest of that stuff is kind of what kind of change that been happened on the user side, and what kind of a change that that malicious actor did. And yeah, that was we have actual prevention stuff, which relates to how we can prevent that incidents. And but for educational purposes, we kind of keep it as a like a part of our Swiss Cyber Forum ethical hacking challenge. So we're having that environment ready for preventing, and how we're kind of, we have a lessons as well, that how we're preventing that incidents and that type of malicious activities. But long story short, I can say that if you're just seeing that incidents first, you need to totally isolate the machine from the network, because you need to kind of just disable that machine from the rest of the network, because if that person has a persistence in that machine, that means he can scan the rest of the network. He can get a foothold to the different machines as well, different systems. So it's gonna just get more and more, and it's just like overhead as well. Plus, you're getting data from the other machines as well, so you can do like a post exploit, like a post incident investigation, and just see what kind of request or what kind of a malicious activity came from our one infected machine to another machine. So there's a lots of things going on, and that there's lots of things could be kind of talked about as well, but we don't have like a 12 hours of time over here to kind of talk all about it. So let me just go back to our, so we're pretty much done over here. And so we kind of show you a little bit like one of our sample challenge and how we're kind of detecting. This is very like a basic challenge that we're having in our ethical hacking blue and red team defense labs. And yeah, that was pretty much it. And let's go back to the questions. I'm really kind of interested what kind of questions that's gonna make. So yeah, Samir, are you here?
Yes, Fikret, I'm here. You have several
Perfect.
questions. Would you like to read by yourself or shall I
But
read for you?
I don't know, but I cannot open that Q&A portion in here. I don't know why. If you guys can, you know, just through that things, through your questions in the chat window, that would
I,
be
yes, I can read it for you if you want,
okay.
or you just
Yeah.
stop your presentation and you will see the questions.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Mhm.
1 second. Let me just stop it. Let's see. No, I still cannot see.
Okay.
That's weird.
I will start to read the questions for you, then you can answer.
Yeah,
Do you have
sure.
any experience with Sam from SolarWinds?
SolarWinds, I personally don't have any experience with the SolarWinds, but I didn't hear the good things about the SolarWinds. It's very like they're still using the traditional methods and stuff, but I'm pretty much familiar with, you know, how that platform works and stuff. And, it looks very like basic to me, to be honest.
Good. The next
Yeah.
question. Hi, are logs specific to platform? For example, are there complications to reconciling Linux and Microsoft generated log files? Can they be easily combined into one view of the data?
Yeah, sure. So again, as I said, in Elastic, in our SIEM platform, we show the Windows only logs. But again, as I said before, that audit log, let's say in a Linux systems, the agent named the audit log, which is collecting the log data from the Linux systems, like user events and stuff like that, and command line arguments as well. And they are parsing that data in a specific fields, which is the same in the Windows and the Linux as well. But they're kind of, let's say they're both, each of them are like generating different types of logs. But let's say one log contains like a let's say username, blah 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 blah. Another in the Linux systems, it's totally different type of a log, but it's all been parsed in the same field. So it's gonna be you're gonna see like a just actionable data out of that log. So it's definitely possible.
Thank you, Fikret. The next
You're welcome.
question. Are we going to get documentation based on what to look for when investigating the server?
So, uh, is that a student question? Because is
Yeah,
that a
most
question
probably.
is if it's
Most probably
related
it's
to
our.
so as a documentation wise, we're gonna have like a 4-hour session in a class that we're actually kind of show you that how it's been done. But again, that's what I'm kind of really saying, that cybersecurity is a very broad field that we're kind of that's how I learned as well. I'm kind of showing the pathway. I'm showing that that's it. There's like A, B, C, D way over there, and you can just, you know, because it's very broad that if you're gonna just even like a 5 years continuous class is not enough to kind of show everything. It's very broad, and self-paced study is another thing that the students should do, because we're gonna give them clues and just things that what they really kind of need to know, what kind of things they're looking for, and we're gonna give them like an idea, and of course we're gonna give them like advanced techniques that how they do certain stuff. But they really, I cannot stress that enough. Everybody in the cybersecurity, even I'm reading at least 5 hours a day, the new things, and trying to learn the new things to try to kind of keep up with the pace. And I still don't know anything. So that's a reality about a cybersecurity.
Good. Thank you very much, Fikret.
You're welcome.
The next question. Would you consider the Microsoft PowerShell scripting language as one of the most effective language to deploy malware nowadays, especially fileless? And if not, which one is it?
Now, I would say a PowerShell is just one of the best scripting language for malicious purposes right now. Yeah, that's true. And you have if you're doing like a red team on the red team side, you could use either PowerSploit framework. A PowerShell Empire is another good tool that you can use for the red team techniques and operations as well. And yeah, and just definitely look for Pentest Shell Monkey, which has a very good like a one-liner reverse shells and bind shells as well. It's going to be useful as well if you're just doing like a red team activities.
Good, thank you. Next question. Is there any cybersecurity community repository of known attacks and attack vectors?
I would say Meyer attack framework is really good. Another thing you can do is you can look for atomic red team test. So basically, atomic red team is just you're just testing that on your system and just testing your detection capability and it's mapped out to a Meyer attack framework as well, which is really good. I cannot stress it enough. So you can just both test your red team activity at the same time, just create a detection and prevention capabilities out of that rules.
Good. So next question. As a blue team member, what would you say are your top 5 must-have tools?
That's a good question, but top 5 is very strictly right now. It's like I feel like under the pressure. So my top 5 tools could be first volatility. Volatility is a memory analysis tool. I would choose that one first. Another blue team tool is Elasticsearch Forever. So Elasticsearch is, basically I'm using that as a SIEM and in my environment as well. Another one, blue team tool, Sysmon for sure, and Logstash for sure as well for enrichment, because Logstash is a piece that you can enrich and add actionable data to your log, which is great. And I would say MISP is another great tool. MISP is, by the way, it's a intelligence sharing platform, so you can set it up. It's free, and you can set it up in your environment and get the indicators of compromise and stuff like that. And you're kind of basically you can input it to your Elasticsearch SIEM as well, and just do like a cross correlation between your data and that MISP IOC indicators of compromise as well. Another one, is that 5 already, or I still have one more?
Just you can tell one more. That's
okay.
Enough.
And another blue team tool I would say is Explico. Explico is it may be kind of sound very weird right now, but Explico can get some type of a metadata out of the file and stuff like that, and binwalk, of course, it just gives you like a high level view of what kind of a file contains and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of a more forensics tool, but I would say that. That's
So
pretty much it.
great. What level of programming skills is required, and what language is the best suitable to the hacking lab of Swiss Cyberform?
So for Swiss Cyberform hacking labs, you don't need any programming language experience or stuff like that. To be honest, I'm not a programming junkie or stuff like that. I know Python a little bit, very basic stuff, but if you know Python, Python is not for Swiss Cyberform ethical hacking labs. Python is really good for overall cybersecurity field, and you can automate lots of things with Python, which is undeniable. But for our purposes, I mean, we didn't do anything on the Python for in that demo too. So you need to have a broader cybersecurity knowledge and like overall IT knowledge for, and you have to be very passionate about cybersecurity, and just you have to passionate about doing like your own self research. So that's the most important thing. But you don't
The
need to
next
kind of
question.
no.
Good. Thanks. Is there any cybersecurity forum where students share idea or ask questions outside this course? Do you know any forum, international forum that people can engage?
Not that I know of. I'm sorry. There's like a lots of forums and stuff, but you know, I cannot tell it right now. It's not coming to my mind right now. I'm sorry. But there's a like if they can do like a simple Google search will turn back lots of results to them.
Good. The next question. Have you ever been hacked? What could you have done better?
No, yeah, I have been hacked. I have been when I was 9 years old. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I've not been hacked, but that's like when I was in my like a very young times and stuff. Uh, I didn't I cannot say I've been hacked. It was my like a demo email account that I used uh, very like a default password like a 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 and stuff like that, and it's been brute forced, and the person just basically got in and just did some like a weird stuff over there. It's but you know but that's about a human factor. I forgot one of my very important document in that email in the drafts folder, and he stole that document as well. It's like a basically I was a little lazy, and I kind of learned from that kind of a lesson that never, even it's your dummy account, even your demo account, you could have something in that profile too. So I highly recommend everybody using password managers and just doing like a very strong passwords. Brute force is, uh, sooner or later is successful. It's gonna be successful one day. It depends, of course. It depends how complex your password is, but even maybe after the 50 years, maybe after the 50 minutes, it's going to be successful at some point. But you have some good password policy, good password, sanitizing policies that, let's say, if you're going to use like a 15 characters password, even they're going to be brute force. Let's say somebody's kind of a brute forcing right now, they could be like being successful maybe after the 10 years, but till that time, you're already going to change your password for password sanitizing policy or procedure that you have right now that enforcing you change your password after the 30 days or 60 days. Even it's going to, and there's no computer in the world that can just crack that passwords that fast. So,
Fikret, what's the best option? 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days? What would you advise as a security specialist?
So it depends on your requirements. It depends your compliance requirements first. Maybe you're having some type of a compliance like a PCI or like ISO compliance in a place that they're kind of enforcing you, changing you in a, let's say like in a 10 days or 15 days. So you have to look at your environment. You have to look at your risk score, like a risk factor and risk vector as well, and just do like a little bit analysis, then apply some type of numbers to your users. So it all depends on environment, let's say.
Good. Now we used to talk about technical measures, and we have a question about organizational measures. So how do you think that the cybersecurity culture can be best created within an organization? What are the best way to spread the culture mindset in the company?
Excuse me, can you repeat that question again?
How do you think that cybersecurity culture can be best created in a company, in an organization?
Mm-hmm. That was a little bit bold statement. Cybersecurity culture can be best created with an organization, but I would say that for if you want to kind of have a like a not best but really good cybersecurity culture and cybersecurity environment in your place, first of all, the most important thing that you need is upper management support. I cannot stress it enough. If you have upper management in your back, you can just enforce everything and anything that you want. But if they kind of are looking at the cybersecurity for just the security sake of a sake, you're gonna fail in somewhere. And because cybersecurity need to cooperate with lots of departments, and uh, when you're gonna say something, I mean like let's say you're just enforcing some policies and some type of a technical control in your environment, and nobody kind of just to be honest, not a lot of people like cybersecurity because it makes the people's work a little bit harder, to be honest. So nobody kind of likes it, more kind of strict controls and stuff. So that's why they're kind of like okay, we'll do it later. So it's getting like you're getting into the endless loop. But if let's say you're kind of just writing that email to the same person and CCing like a CEO, let's say, or CISO, or let's say like a chief financial officer, they're gonna be like, okay, that's like a bigger heads over here. So, so I need to kind of really need to be very careful. So upper management is the first thing I could say for having a best culture, or let's say good culture in the cybersecurity.
Very good.
Because
I'm sure.
even you want to do some like actions, you want to create some programs or policies without that support, you're gonna just ending up in the roadblock.
That's really good answer, and we think all the same way at Swiss Cyber Forum. I think it's the same in United States.
Hell yeah.
As of today, many employees are doing home office or they work remotely. What are the best practice? Just top 5 best practice to be secure when we work from home.
That's a really good question, actually. Thanks for that question. So I would say not top five. I could say like hundreds of things about that question. But first of all, you need to kind of have endpoint security, endpoint protection. That must be done. That including like again, as I mentioned earlier, Sentinel-1, Elastic Endpoint Security, Black Bear Silence, and Bitdefender Gravity Zero, and you need to kind of just deploy that in your user endpoints, which they're gonna have you're gonna have, because that platforms are on the cloud. So whatever it's that computers connect to the internet, you're going to have a foothold on it automatically. And they're going to do like AI and machine learning and all of the like a threat analysis in the back. So you need to just go ahead and investigate it. And endpoint security is must. Another thing for securing your cloud workloads, like the cloud applications, you need to, I highly recommend having zero trust architecture for cloud applications, because zero trust, that means even you're gonna, let's say, put your credentials, which can be like hacked as well with the phishing, with the social engineering and stuff. Even you're gonna put your credentials over there in a zero trust, you can you can do more granular access models, which, hey, you have like a conditions, let's say. First, username and password. Second, it has to be company-owned device. Third, it has to be from specific locations. Fourth, it has to be patched to the update version of a Windows. And you can add lots of more like conditions on top of it. So zero trust must be done as well. Third, you have to have like a very good cloud access security broker CASB solution in the place. So CASB is basically, CASB is just has DLP functionality. Like you need to kind of look at where's your data is going on, where's it, but of course you have to have really good data classification as well, that you need to classify your documents in the cloud. And when somebody kind of sent that email to the outside, let's say, with that attach that document on it, so DLP can find it, or DLP, it's just working with rules. DLP can just prevent that email as well going to the outside. And what else? What else? I would say that 3 is most important ones.
Very good. Thanks a lot.
And that's another thing. I almost kind of forgot. If you're having like a cloud infrastructure, like if you move completely to the cloud, you need to have very good cloud logging experience. I mean, cloud logging, like a platform, like if you're working in the AWS, you need to have, or let's say Google Cloud, you have to have VPS logs, you need to send audit logs, you need to send all of that sign-in logs and stuff. You definitely need that login infrastructure in the back as well.
Super, fantastic. Thanks a lot, Fikret. So one of our attendees, he was hired as a network and security engineer on a new company in Switzerland starting from December.
Congrats.
The position is, congrats. The position is quite new, and currently there are no cybersecurity measures in place, like zero. What would be the first thing you would implement in an environment that there is no measure at all?
That's definitely not going to be free of charge answer. I'm just kidding. So as an architect, that's going to be a very rough statement, but I need to kind of, I would say I would look at the environment and what they have and what they kind of, what they can do for the cybersecurity. I mean, how far they can go. But without knowing what they have right now, I mean, their assets and stuff, it's really, really hard to tell what needs to be done. Let's say, okay, I would say like, hey, we need like a EPP, like endpoint protection. But if they have like a 10 users or 10 devices and stuff like that, I would say like it's not really necessary, because you can do the same thing with the sysmon. You can just you can do an analysis on the 10 users, and I mean do a threat hunting that limited machines. But if it's going to be like a 5,000 users and stuff, you're definitely going to need like a lot bigger than that. But it really needs to depends on architecture. We need to for that person, I know, I don't know who asked the question, but I highly recommend to evaluate first what assets that they have, and just identify which one is a critical ones, and just do like a just basic stuff first, then start from bottom up. First you need to kind of secure that uh, like a critical devices, and what's the business case of that, and what kind of applications that we need to secure, what kind of services that, if it's not necessary, what kind of services we need to disable, and what kind of ports that we need to monitor, and all of that kind of stuff can be applied to that too.
Very good answer. Thanks. I think this is the last question. If you send any question, that will be the last, and we will close the session. What are some of the professionals' measures of the success in the field in cybersecurity, especially incident response, catching the number of attacks, or response time, or any others? What are the main measures for incident response manager?
For me, it's like yeah, how fast your response is, and because you're gonna get, the question was, he counted two things. First is number of incidents, he said.
The measures of success in cybersecurity field for professionals, catching a number of attacks or response time.
Both of that are very important. I mean, catching number of attacks is important as well, and response time is another important thing. And both of them are important, but more like that, I would add one more thing over there, that what kind of lessons learned from that incident, because that incident could be successful as well, but what kind of things you learn and prepared for the future is another good measure to keep in mind as well.
Good, great. I think we are done. We are almost over time.
Oh,
I would
really?
like to thank you, Fikret, and to our attendees. Everyone will stay here. It's our great pleasure. Have a nice evening, and for you, have a nice day. And maybe next time we will see each other
Yeah.
again online next
Yeah.
masterclass.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people, attendees, stay safe. Have a great evening.
Thanks, everyone. You guys have a great day as well. Thanks, Samir, for having me. And that was a great session. The questions were great as well. And I'm really
Yes,
kind of thanks to everyone for attending. And hopefully, we're going to see you guys in one of our ethical hacking labs soon.
super. Thanks. Have a nice evening.
All right, guys.